Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the final preview of the 2022 second round, and we got probably the biggest one of them all. The Edmonton Oilers are taking on the Calgary Flames in the Battle of Alberta in round 2 of the Cup playoffs. And no matter how this series goes, no matter what team wins it, I'm very intrigued to see how it will play out because these teams have a lot of beef against each other. Anyways, let's look at both of these teams' paths to the second round. The Calgary Flames, they beat the Dallas Stars in the first round in 7 games, 4-3. They scored 15 goals and only let in 14 goals against. It was a much more defensive type series, but a lot of great play from Flames forward Johnny Gaudreau. He was probably one of the bigger reasons in why they got past the Dallas Stars. I was a little bit worried. I thought that the Stars were going to pull off a Game 7 win and beat the Flames at home ice. So I was a little bit shocked when they didn't. And I mean, Ottinger was just pummeled with 67 shots through a little bit over 3 periods of play. So he was unbelievable for the Dallas Stars, but the Flames eventually came out on top. So I mean, Gaudreau's played a big role. Markstrom also played a big role. It was a very defensive type series. Not too many goals were scored. I remember in the first 2 games, it was 1-0 and 2-0, and then 3-2, and then you saw these low-ass scoring games. I don't think that's the case with the Battle of Alberta this season. Because when you look at the Oilers, they had a much more offensive first round. They beat the Kings in 7 games, 4-3. They scored 27 goals and let in 17 goals against. So obviously it was a little bit worrisome come goaltending-wise. Smith let in some bad goals early in this series. And I actually thought that the Kings were going to pull off a first-round upset, or it wasn't really technically an upset, against the Oilers. And they almost did. They were up 3-2, and then the Oilers just came back, played unbelievable. Connor McDavid just soloed in Game 7. It was an unbelievable performance from their top guys with the Oilers. So I think this series will be very interesting. It'll be much more offensive than the Flames series, but it could be a little bit more defensive than the Oilers series. And it will definitely be more physical than the two combined. And that's what I thought, is that the Oilers have this high-flying offense, but the Flames have this really good goaltending. The Flames also have a high-flying offense, but it's not as extreme as the Oilers, obviously. And then you have very bad goaltending in Mike Smith. I think they're all going to balance out, and we could either see a lot of goals scored or little to none. When you look at the top-performing players for each team, starting off with the Calgary Flames, you have Johnny Gaudreau leading the way with 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points. He was a very big part in why the Flames won that first-round series. I'm assuming he's going to be a big part in this one as well. Then you have Matthew Tkachuk with 1 goal, 5 assists for 6 points. Then you have Elias Lindholm with 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points. Then you have Jacob Markstrom, who is 4-3-0 in the net, in between the pipes, with a 1.53 goals against average and a .943 save percentage. So Markstrom has been unbelievable for the first 7 games. Again, it was a very defensive, lots of shots series. Markstrom didn't face a ton because the Flames were always putting up chances against Ottinger. So obviously, he's had very good stats, and the guys are putting up some good offense. But when you look at the Oilers side, way more offensive. For the Oilers' top-performing players, you see Connor McDavid leading the way with 4 goals, 10 assists for 14 points. I'm not sure why my thing says 11 points. I think I messed that up. You have Evander Kane in second spot, which I didn't talk about him much after the season started, and I talked about it when he got signed, but I didn't talk about him much after that. He's been unbelievable for the Oilers, not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. 7 goals, 2 assists for 9 points. Then you have Leon Draisaitl, who's tied with him for 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points. Then you have Mike Smith with a 4-3-0 record, a 2.29 goals against average, and a .938 save percentage. Again, Smith, he's been all right in the first round. He had some very sketchy plays at the beginning, but I think when you compare him to Markstrom, and you got Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, Elias Lindholm to worry about on the Flame side, besides, you had Anze Kopitar, Adrian Kempe, you were facing a much weaker team in Los Angeles. No disrespect to Los Angeles. They played a great series against the Oilers. But I think that, Smith, he was all right against the Kings, but against the Flames, I don't know. Now time for the final verdict here. Who takes this series? Now, nonetheless, whoever takes it, I think it's going to be a very entertaining, very fun series. And the winner of it will either play Colorado or St. Louis. Some people are saying it's Colorado. It's really split, actually. It's more split than you would think. But personally, I think the Flames come out on top. I think what it's going to come down to is goaltending. Markstrom's going to hold it down for the Flames. But Mike Smith, as I mentioned, he was facing a much weaker Los Angeles team. Their top players was really Anze Kopitar, Adrian Kempe. Those are the guys just to name, the two probably biggest players off the bat. I mean, it wasn't really that strong of a team this season. They just made the playoffs because Pacific is kind of weak. No disrespect to them, but to be honest, you kind of wonder well, how are they going to do against a high flying Flames team? And I thought the Flames were going to be a pretender team. I thought the Flames were going to lose in the first round. They almost did, but I think they can definitely take on the Oilers, 100%. I think both teams actually have weaker defenses, but the Flames edged out in goaltending, 100%. And as for offense, I mean, you have McDavid and Draisaitl, two of the best players in the world. So obviously, it's gonna be hard to hold them down. But if you can hold those two guys down, all you got to really worry about is Kane, Nugent Hopkins. Those guys aren't that big of threats when it comes to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So I think if the Flames can hold down McDavid and Draisaitl, they can easily win this series. But even if they don't, I think the Flames still take it. I think it is going to be a very competitive, very close series, though. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, guys, that's it for me and the round 2 previews. Thank you all very much for watching. For us personally, I really do appreciate it. By the way, I will be going live tonight for the Battle of Florida Game 1, Panthers versus Lightning. So if you guys want to see that, I'll be probably live around 7 o'clock Eastern. So just click the link and you guys can join me, obviously. So thank you all for watching. For us personally, I really do appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.